The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the show. We're here, as always, to explore how empathy, connection, purpose transform business from the inside out. I'm Stephen with my co-hosts, Mike and Tullio today. Hey, guys. So a little stat here. According to the World Health Organization, the global population over age 60 is expected to double by 2050. Yet, more than 40% of older adults report feeling lonely or isolated, and that lack of connection has been linked to serious health consequences from depression to cognitive decline. And today's episode is about reimagining elder care as a place of presence, dignity, and purpose. Mike, introduce our special guest today.
Oh, Stephen, I'm delighted to. Our guest today is none other than Patricia Morrison. She's the founder and the owner of Social Pulse Home Care Agency, which is a home care agency that provides compassionate, personalized care that's really rooted in human dignity, which we love to focus on and highlight here in our show. Patricia also brings with her decades of leadership in healthcare and caregiving, along with a deeply personal commitment to treating people as whole human beings. She's here to share, how Social Post is redefining really what elder care can look like when empathy, love, and connection are built into really every layer of the experience. So, Patricia, we can't wait to hear more. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about what you guys are building and how it kind of emphasized what my passion is. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Patricia. I want to talk about what it looks like if we treat elder care as sacred work instead of a service industry. So you frame Social Pulse around the importance of human relationship. Can you take us back to kind of what inspired you to create Social Pulse and your people first model?
Yeah, so I'm actually a registered nurse, and in my decade of nursing, I worked as a traveler in many capacity of services, oncology, ICU, critical care, just a variety of services. But what I've noticed in, the care of nursing is that the socialization piece was missing. I felt like, I was just tasking. A lot of us as nurses, we task a lot. So I wanted to incorporate some socialization in something that would allow me to engage with my clients. So I would always be the nurse that would sit in my room and do my documentation. I wouldn't be at the nurse's station. I'm the nurse that would like to chart in the room. Unfortunately, some of the hospitals don't have computers in the room. So it would be a conversation I would have, but I think that can enhance even in the medical world of adding socialization in a hospital setting if we had computers things. So, but I would always leave thinking how socialization is missing in healthcare. And with that thought, I thought about Social Pulse. I wanted to be the pulse of socialization while we provided care for these, Asian adults at home specifically. I worked with Asian population the most, young adults to seniors. And I was really passionate in working with them. Yeah. And seeing how they were missing that piece when they would come in and get admitted with us. Yeah.
Love that. Mm-hmm. We live in a time in a society where a lot of people will look at elder care as like a burden, and it's very sad. But one thing that stands out about your approach is how you honor the stories of those in your care. What does that look like practically, to make space for someone's full identity in a care setting?
Oh, I love it. So even as a nurse, as I mentioned, it started there. While I'm in the room with patients and they would tell me their story, right? I would know what got them to that hospital, right? I would know more about that patient than the doctor would because I'm in there sitting with them. So tell me about, what brought you here? What medication, what happened? When you learn that at home, they may have ran out of the medicine, they ran out of finances. This could be contributing factors, but it looks like asking questions and engaging with your person That's how you get answers, And so that model translates right into Social Pulse. We need to engage, talk with our clients and get to know them. And they personally will tell you their story and you get to know them as a holistic approach. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Patricia, very, intriguing. I actually recently have gone through the experience of my mom, believe it or not. She spent 2 weeks in the hospital and now is, gone to what they term a SNF, a skilled nursing facility.
Yeah.
And I witnessed it firsthand. Being at the hospital, she was changed to different departments. She ended up having a hematoma that was an epidural spinal hematoma that was removed. That was putting pressure on her spine.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was going back and forth from different departments, different floors, and it is quite interesting. The difference that care that the patient receives when the medical professionals know more about the patient, right? It actually, like as you're sort of saying, it humanizes them in a way. It's not just another individual that you have to provide some sort of care for and go through that routine and process. So makes a big difference.
It does.
It does make a very big difference. And actually, so I want to talk a little bit about like the team aspect, right? So team, obviously, the care that they provide, they have to navigate, as you've highlighted, this whole person. So there's really kind of like a delicate balance between, providing the care and then also preserving the independence, let's say. So how would you say that you and your team navigate that in a way that really sort of respects the whole person?
That's a good question. So training. Yeah. So I'm excited about being the person that can do the training. So I can input my goals and purpose of Social Pulse. So I train them, right? So we want to include them in what we do, right? We're not in their homes just doing, right? We want them to walk around with us with their walkers or cane and tell us how you want that washing machine ran and what temperature. Show us how you like your bed made and the corners that you create. So they are a part of their care. And then also because, the agency, I don't have to have a CNA, which is a certified nursing training person. I can hire a personal care assistant. I have to train them about verbiage, right? Conversations of keeping independence for the elderly, because they're like, I can do this myself. And we love that. But we need to be able to encourage them to allow us to assist them to prevent falls and things that can harm them while we help them keep their independence. So I find that I have to just help with some verbiage. So periodically I'll send out some tidbits on how to have conversations with them, how to encourage to be a part of something, because a lot of them sit and they become discouraged about being able to. So it's not that they don't want to, they just haven't been encouraged to do it. So it's about how we do it. So how do we encourage that patient or that client, right? So they can keep independence. Yeah.
Thinking about kind of the, we read about or understand blue zones around the world where you've got this longevity, where people live to 100 and older. A lot of times we think about, the diet they eat, it's got to be healthy, the physical activity, stress management, some sort of daily exercise. But the things we don't think that are really important are those social connection and purpose, in that process. And I think there was a study by AARP that showed that reducing like that social isolation among older adults could save the U.S. healthcare system like billions in avoidable healthcare costs. So what kind of practices have you designed to kind of keep that front and center, that human connection part across all your operations?
Yeah, just, SOPs, right? I like to keep standard operation procedures, like my mission, right? Keeping that social piece in it, because it can get lost. But I do strongly believe that the contribution of socialization can decrease lethargy. It can help increase, those neurotransmitters and that dopamine release. And I think it can actually help and decrease Alzheimer's. I really do. I just feel like that that is what's missing, right? Like the expression, you don't use it, you lose it. Really, a lot of our elderly, especially here in the area, I'm here in Myrtle Beach, there's a lot of elderly here that are like 90 and still mentally kicking it, but they just need a little help. And if they don't get that, then they'll start declining, right? So trying to make sure that we keep our standard operating procedures in place. And I'm constantly aware of it because I'm so new. And I know there's a lot of agencies out there and we all do the same thing, but we specialize in socialization. So the purpose of why we are here is to help enhance, those dopamines and keep you engaged and give you that human side that we are here to help you, but yet you have a story to tell and we want to know about it. They have a story, let them share.
That's beautiful. Now, Patricia, caregiving, you probably agree, it can be emotionally intensive work. And sometimes it could be very draining because there's a lot to give. How do you create like internal systems that support both you and your team's well-being and growth? How do you make that connection?
Yeah, so that also was something that I observed firsthand as a nurse at the bedside. I would encourage caregiver breaks, right? I watch families stay at the bedside, exhausted, not taking care of themselves. They're so concerned about mom and dad. But I would reassure them that mom and dad is okay. Take a break. Yeah, go have coffee, go get a shower. This is your time. It's okay to do that, because a lot of times the guilt of if I leave or I'm not a part of. So I think families need to be educated that it's okay to take a break. So in Social Pulse and our model, I encourage our employees to encourage families when they're in there for those few hours, tell them this is the day you can go for an hour. Go and have coffee, go get your nails done. For example, one of our clients, the husband needed, he's caring for his wife, and we love that. But I could tell he wasn't keep taking care of it. He needed a haircut, right? He likes to go get his haircut. He hasn't been able to because he's worried about his wife. So when we went into the home on that specific day between those certain hours, I encouraged him to make an appointment and go get your haircut. And that took a couple of times of encouragement, but that third time he made his appointment and he went and got his haircut because he was reassured that wife was okay and it's okay for you to take care of you. So I try to make that part of our standard of operation, keep that core that we're not only there for the families. I think if you saw the logo I have, it's like this 3 heads, one is, the family, the other side is us, and then the middle is that client, because it's a holistic approach, So I encourage employees to let families know that when we're here, you go take a break. So it's part of a conversation, so they don't have to sit there and kind of watch us to feel unsafe, because I guess that's the custom. But we're coming in to give both of you a break and make sure that mom and dad is taken care of socially, mentally, physically. So just trying to keep close to that,
I love that, hearing about like that
Nice.
that other aspect of thinking about the family. I've read stories about some of the, like in the Dutch healthcare system, some of the nursing programs there that they've got, and how they really do think about the family, like things like that, like go get a haircut. Come on, you can go do it. We've got it for you.
Yeah.
And it helps them, kind of rejuvenate, and it's going to help the patient eventually too.
That's right. Otherwise, you start hearing about elder abuse, right? A lot of times, if you look at the stats, a lot of times it comes in from family. They don't mean to, right? But they're overwhelmed, right? And so it's just about educating them and just reassuring them that it really is okay. Otherwise, it's a burnout. We all get burned out, and we know mom and dad is better off with a stranger or someone that they can trust than having that son and daughter, right? They start resorting back to disciplining the adult because I'm mom, I'm dad. But when they have someone in there that they can trust, and then also is concerned about the family, then everyone as a holistic approach can feel safe enough to do a caregiver break, take that respite opportunity. Yeah.
Patricia, I'm glad you explained the thinking behind the logo, because when I was prepping for the show, that was one of the things I was going to ask you about, because I kind of noticed, there's some heart shapes in there as well with that. So, obviously, a lot of care that goes through that. So I find that very intriguing, your explanation of the logo.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, one of the things that happens with a lot of organizations, and we've mentioned it time and time again on this show, is that when you scale, sometimes organizations tend to drift slowly from their purpose, and they tend to get off course in a way. So I'm kind of curious, sort of as you scale and grow your business, how do you stay grounded in sort of that original vision, while still, obviously trying to build the structure, the consistency, so that you scale, on the same path?
I know. I really appreciate that question, because like I said, we're just a year in, and my initial connection was with the Council of Aging here in the county. Every county has one. And we contacted because I went on a website and noticed that they had did a case study about the elderly here in Horry County, and how they seen that there's so many of them that are alone and that they're dealing with isolation. And I thought, man, that's how I feel. I agree. So I contacted them, and we had a meeting, and they partnered with us, and they gave us our first few clients. So we got started with them. But the point of my mission and purpose was not of interest to them. They were excited about having an agency that can assist them, because that's all they needed. We need agencies. And immediately I felt like, man, okay, so we have clients. They're not really concerned about the social side of this, but what am I going to do with just having the employees go in and just do the things that they want us to do? And I decided that I was still incorporated. We still incorporate. So while we go in there and do the things that they asked of us, we're going to go in with our social bags. We're going to still identify their interests, and we're going to still promote socialization. And then that was just my quick response. And I think it set the tone for, regardless of what's asked, I have to stick to standard operating procedures of why I created it. And that's what I did, and so that's what we do. And that's what we have been doing with these few clients. Yeah.
I'm actually quite curious. Sorry.
I said, talk about sticking to your purpose. We often talk about that.
I was going to mention that.
Courage to just stick to their purpose.
And it took something out of me emotionally. I thought, ooh, like it was almost like what we do. This is what businesses do. We just here to do a business. And I'm like, no, we're not tasking. I have a purpose, and you can easily fall into it. And it hit me. And I thought, well, at least got the clients and we can start making money. But then I said, what about my purpose? So I was, excited that I was able to overcome that. But I tell you, the emotion that came from me just having to put it to the side for a minute. And I just decided, no, we're still going to incorporate it. We're going to still figure out how to, within that time frame that they gave us, so. Yeah.
And how glad are you that you did?
I'm so excited about it, because we have those clients today, and I check on them all the time. And what we learn is that each client is, they have the right to choose the agency they want to work with. And so we're against 5 others. And the ones that we have, they want to stick with us because we are incorporating something different, right? They see that we're not just there to task, right? And they appreciate that social piece and the activities that we come with our bags, and we want to do puzzles and do whatever it is. Once we identify what it is you like, then that's what we're bringing in. And we're going to do trivia. We're going to do a puzzle, or we're going to work on our, I have a client that has rheumatoid arthritis. So he's the contorted. So I got him a little, felt pad, and he does tying of a shoe. What is this? So I think I'm excited about it because they can tell that they are feeling connected. We care. It's the human that we're looking for.
There's tons of study and data that actually supports the companies that operate this way. And we've shared many of them end up being more profitable, end up growing faster, end up having longer term success than those who don't. So it's not just good for people and for your soul in terms of sticking to your purpose. It's actually a good business strategy too. And it's been proven over time. So kudos to you, Patricia.
For sure.
Well, I like that.
Thank you.
I like that you kind of had identified this one moment. It was like this critical little moment where you could go on to tasking and doing these things, or you could be like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I need to put the soul back into, the life, the love back into what I'm doing here, and making sure that goes along with it. And you feel the difference, right? You felt the difference when you did that. And it's kind of what I think energizes people in their work and helps keep them engaged is when they can find that higher purpose in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I love that you kind of identified that almost that singular moment that
It was
probably going to be critical for.
That's bliss. That's the bliss right there.
Bliss. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to say too that it probably takes a special kind of caregiver to want to do, some of those things. So I'm curious, Patricia, if you can speak to a little bit about when it comes to your recruiting, how that mission has, aided you in identifying, caregivers that align with the mission, and, maybe how has it helped with your employees?
Yeah, that's a good question. So with being a nurse and having firsthand of the opportunity to handpick employees and being an owner of this, that is a plus. So right now we're a party of 8, right? We're growing, but I'm very, very particular about who comes in, because the concept of home care and working is just tasking, going in and getting out. But what I'm asking is more than that. And so I, as a nurse, work in clinical setting. I teach students, nursing students. So I'm firsthand able to get in there and catch them as they grow to as a nurse. And I start looking there first, right? Because we're going to learn about aging adults and the need of stimulating them eventually. So as they learn, they can assist with me, and I can also teach them, but then they can also have maybe a little part-time job while you do your classes and come work for us. So I'm excited about that opportunity. So I go to the colleges and just recruit. I work for one here locally, and I do like little seminars and, trying to encourage them to come in and do this task and learn how to navigate with that aging adult. So when you become a nurse, you'll understand holistic approach. So I'm thankful for that opportunity. So I go firsthand and try to handpick them out of the college setting.
Brilliant.
So that certainly highlights, right? I mean, you having your mission and your purpose, and then you find individuals that align with that. It's like you're building your tribe, right? And everyone's kind of on the same page. So
yeah.
Plus, you influence change where it matters, where people are learning, at the academic level. So it's something that'll pay off not just for your business, but long term, you're influencing change.
Exactly, Tullio. I appreciate that. Yeah, because when we're in the hospital, when I take them on that floor and we work together, I encourage them to go into the room and do your assessment. We're going to go into the room and document and sit and find out why your patient is here. And to them, it's so new, right? All the nurses who are already working are at the nurses station, they're sitting around, and the patients are on their own, but my students are in the rooms so that they can understand that that's how we learn, that's how we engage, and that's how we approach, patients as a holistic approach. So
if you could,
yeah.
If you could radically change the healthcare system in one way, would that be it? Or what would you think as far as like, if you could wave your magic wand and say, hey, this is the approach we should take?
Yeah. One thing I think about what I would encourage is I think that every patient's room should have a computer in it. That's the minimum we can do, right? And we should encourage documentations in the room with our patients. They're in there, they're lonely, even in the hospital, right? They're home lonely. Some of them actually get readmitted. They come right on out and get discharged, and they go right back in ED. You know why? They're looking for some association and some socialization, right? Yeah. So if we can give them that, we may can keep them out of the hospital, right? And that nurse needs to be in the room engaging. But a lot of times, a lot of hospitals I worked at, they don't have computers in the room. That was very challenging for me, but I would always stay near the room, right? I would be in and out, and I'll pull up a chair, right? Each room would have a stool. It's a doctor's stool, but I'll be sitting on it talking to them. So by the time the doctor's around, I know the story. I'm just listening to see if they're going to be able to catch it, So I would like to see that. They had computers in each room, and that's the minimum they can do to help nurses to be engaged with their patients. And that may help contribute with, readmits, when it comes to loneliness. Yeah,
it seems like instead of going off to the desk or whatever, it's like, hey, you can do the same stuff right here.
Right.
And just your presence there.
And acknowledging, engaging, and then helping with that healing, right? That can contribute to them even getting better.
It's so true what you just said. I can speak from personal experience. My wife's Gammy, who's 98, broke her hip. and she was able to get operated on, and she did well, which was a risky operation. But then the first place she went to for rehabilitation, they didn't have such a generous opening for visitation, and she was so depressed. She's like, I'm done. I don't want to live.
Aww.
She was so depressed. And then changed it to another facility that was more open. She gets visit, and she's getting visits daily on a regular basis for extended period of time where she gets to socialize, and her spirits completely change. So to your point, I mean, it is so true, especially as you get older, you start to feel more lonely. Without that, it's like it's medicine.
It
That
really is.
socialization is medicine. It really,
Yeah, and I think we're so involved in making the profit, the money, and we just lost the human side of things, and it was weighing on me, and I thought about how can we kind of not lose this sight, right? It contributes to really what's going on if we can just kind of keep that as a core, so that's it. And also too, as a nurse, I would always encourage home, right? Home is where the heart is. So families will ask me, Patricia, should I go home or should I go to a facility? I said, listen, home is where the heart is. So I think if we can keep them home and then get someone in there that's going to stimulate them socially and help them before they have a fall or be, lonely and start going into the depression or Alzheimer's, then we can have a little bit longevity, and need to be happier, older people today, but sometimes it don't work because of family dynamics, and we understand that. But if it's possible, home is where the heart is, and then they need to have that socialization. Yeah.
We've got a question from the audience. Let's pull that up, Tullio, if you can. Let's see. Congratulations on all you do. What are the next steps for Social Pulse on its growing journey?
Real good question. I actually just became nonprofit. I worked at doing that because ideally I want each of our employees to go in with social bags, with activities. I want us to go into the home already with our social activity until we identify, what that client really likes to do. But we already have it. We're not going to go in and be like, do you have a puzzle? Do you have some cards? We have that activity, so we can spend some time socializing with them. So the next step is really trying to find funding on the nonprofit side. I'm used to hitting the clock and working and making my own money, but how do I get assistance to help us get these social bags? I would love to have a Social Pulse activity van that will come up to these 55 and older communities where some of these elders are not able to get out mobile wise. So we bring an activity van up to them, right? And they can play chess in there. We can have somebody come and make some jewelry, or we could just be there and do a book reading, but bring the socialization to them. All those are ideas I want for Social Pulse, but as we continue to grow and develop, it's just finding funding and being able to have that conversation, because that's new for me to ask for help, But I became nonprofit with that idea that we can get the funding, because it does cost, So just, being able to continue to grow it and stay core to the mission,
Yeah. So for our business leaders that are out there and listening to the show, reach out to Patricia. I'm sure, if you have a CSR program, going, and social responsibility is an important thing, then, here you go. Right. This is a perfect organization to be able to partner with.
That should be a benefit to employees that they offer through Social Pulse. There we go. Now we got another.
There you go.
Yeah, I think so. And then it can help contribute to that. I think it's just a conversation. It's interesting. And when I first thought about it, we were out at a restaurant, and I saw a mom and her daughter together. If I could share an experience really quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Please do.
And they were in front of us, and my husband went up to go to the restroom, and I know that was, mom and the daughter, and she was engaging with the mother. And I said, well, are you guys having a mom and daughter date? And she said, yes. And she shared how she lives in another state, which we find a lot of here in Myrtle Beach, a lot of families out of state. And I was sharing with her my idea about Social Pulse and what I wanted to do. And she thought it was the best idea ever. And she's never heard of the concept, because she had an agency come in to help her mother. And that person who was there the whole time spent time talking to her and not engaging with her mom. We see it all the time, right? And she was saying to herself, go over there and talk to my mother. He was like, why are you talking to me? But we find that all the time, right? So they're in there just watching TV or they're engaging with the family. But what about that client that needs you? So that's my core right there. Like in training and education, I will make sure they understand that, and hiring that these are expectations. And then I'll follow up with our social pulse check with families and make sure that's happening. And I think so her reinforcement or what she was seeing and what I envisioned helped me to see, okay, yeah, this is necessary. And we just got to just change. Yes, we're an agency and we all do the same concept with ADLs, but being a pulse of socialization is a unique feature that needs to be included to bring the human back.
Mike, you want to ask your purpose question, even though we've gotten it pretty clear here, but maybe we'll go a little deeper on that one.
Yeah, we can jump to that. So Patricia, one of the things that we love, to talk about on the show, but even as a marketing agency, is leading with purpose. We feel very strongly that, those organizations that have a purpose and lead, with it, not just in their marketing, but, internally and with their clients, are the more successful organizations, right? And they're contributing in a very broad way. So, so the question, that we do like to mention to all of our guests is, really what do you see the role that having a well-defined purpose plays in the success of your business?
Well, having it well-defined is key. I feel it goes back to the standard operating procedure. It really does. It makes me think about, as a nurse, we have labs that we draw on patients, right? I don't know if you're in the medical field, but each of us have the same baseline lab, right? We have a hemoglobin, we have our creatinine, everything is baseline. The only way we know if there's a problem, if it goes out of that baseline, right? So we look at the numbers go out, this is what we treat. The numbers stay normal, we're good. If it goes out. So having that core, right? My standard operating core is that baseline. I can see outliers. And when they start going out, treat the cause. What is it? Is it more education? Are we missing the opportunity to engage families? Is there something missing in terms of, I don't even know how to do this, Patricia? And I know because they would tell me. So making sure I communicate with my team, and helping them to understand that I don't expect you to know it all, but I am here to make sure that we understand it so we can contribute to that core value of our mission statement. So I always think about that. I look at doctors, we treat, but I can look at a lab and I can tell immediately what we're treating. If it's the kidneys, the creatinine is out, so I kind of look at that. There's a baseline, and anything that comes out of that, treat it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So your purpose helps you to do that, right? If something's out of alignment with your purpose, then you know how to address it.
Yeah.
I can't help but highlight, Patricia, the healing element of what you're building. It's not just for your clients, but for the caregivers and even for the family. So I'm curious, what values do you want to see spread beyond your organization? We touched on this a little bit with your academic involvement. What is ultimately the bigger mission beyond Social Pulse that you want to see? What societal impact do you want to see from what you're doing?
I think it falls under the metrics. It's just quality of care. Quality of care keeps the human, right? When we think about quality of care, we're thinking of a human, right? It has to engage something that has life, because the quality starts enhancing or it starts declining, right? You can't do that in something that's inanimate. So it's human. So I just want, even though the finance part is the beautiful thing, but the quality of care speaks volumes to the human and feeling that someone is considering me as an individual too, So beyond that, it's just making sure we stick to that, just get good quality. And when you give good quality, you're considering details of things, consider, what it is that affects Michael, or what it is that expects you to, it's personal, so beyond everything else, quality of care is key.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself kind of contributing to like a broader shift in how we view aging and end of life care, is this like a different conversation you're introducing into the mix, or is, how do you view yourself in that role?
Well, I think about, you know, when it comes to the clients that I really engage with right now are, I like to call them my walkie-talkies. You know, they come into me with walker or cane, and they need just a little assistance because I work critical care for a long time. So I dealt with a lot of death and dying with families. And so for the agency, I wanted to kind of catch our aging adult that still are able to function with some mobility, limited mobility, but we're there to help them. But to extend that as a nurse advocating for those who may get to a place, because we have a few clients that did die, of supporting families on what that looks like and how to, you know, make decisions for that loved one. So I find myself advocating for the families and supporting them in that way. So that to me still translates to socialization and stimulation, right? Helping them to understand that this is where we are. How can we go beyond me loving my walkie-talkies? But eventually we get old and eventually, you know, we die. So how can I help families and advocate for families with that decision-making process? So I kind of see I do it now. You know, I have one particular family member that I'm doing that with now. It's not part of what we do at Social Pulse, but I can see it as an extension because as a nurse, that's part of socialization and supporting care, you know, advocating for families and supporting them through that decision-making process.
Real quick, I can't help but realize that we're moving into an era of very digitized, very AI driven, disconnected, more disconnected than ever society. I actually believe that this is going to be required beyond just elder care. I think people are going to need socialization as therapy or medicine, because we're just moving away from that so much. It's like you might be onto something that goes beyond elder care with this, you know?
I agree. Yeah, that's true, Tullio. And I'm so glad that is something that resonates with me now, because I agree with that. You know, that's why I'm still the one that, you know, we could text, but I'm the one to pick up the phone and call you, right? I want to hear your voice. You know, I'm still like, let's just call me. I could tell you this in 5 seconds, then type in 10 minutes, you know? But yes, this is true. And it will not only be the elders that's going to be affected by it, right? It's going to be a lot of us that are maybe not that tech savvy that still drowns of lack of socialization. Yeah.
And Tullio, to your point, yeah, there may be some out there that are thinking, oh, okay, well, the droids could solve that problem, right? But I don't think they can, right? Yeah. In the movies, we've seen, you know, humans having relationships with droids, but, you know, that's just, you know, the movies, right? That's make-believe.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be the delivery system, but you still need this. That still makes the point that you will need socialization.
You need the human
right, touch, right? The human touch, right? Yeah. Let's keep that in there. And so, yeah, working in healthcare for so long, I would leave every day and like, man, socialization is missing in healthcare. You know, they don't mean it, but it's, you know, it's just as bad, you know, especially when I'm engaging with my patients, you know, I don't mean it.
On that note and a thought, what role does love play in business, do you think?
Oh, love, you know, we all know that 4-letter word, right? You know, it's like we just say it, or do we mean it, you know? And for me, I mean it, you know, and it looks like something. So that's it. It really does. And so it plays a key part without having to say it, right? We all say it, but I like to let it be seen through Social Pulse, right? Man, Patricia, that team, they love us. You can tell. They're interested in me. They're in here showing interest in me, right? And they have me included in the care that I'm giving, and they want my opinion and they want to know my story. So I love that it could be said without a word. That's the goal.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful thought, you know, to conclude our show here, Patricia. You've been incredible. So thank you really for being with us today and for sharing, you know, the incredible work that you're doing. And without a doubt, you know, we cheer you on, and so does our audience.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, that want to learn a little bit more or connect and learn about Social Pulse, where would you like them to go? Where can they learn more?
Well, they can go to Social Pulse, PULSEHCA That's my website. And there's a link there. They can leave a message or share anything or call me. My number is 843-278-0092. And I'll answer directly. But yeah, I would love to hear some feedback as we continue to grow and promote socialization in our Asian adults.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Patricia. And thank you to our audience, everyone listening. We appreciate you joining us today. If this episode inspired you to rethink the way we approach care and connection, and be sure to share it with someone maybe who's moved by the message, or follow and rate. All that helps. And we'll see you next time on the Bliss Business Podcast.
Bliss Business. Thank you.